guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Now, I'm in a listy kind of mood, guys. We talked recently about my favorite sleeper cards, the most underrated cards in the game, a few videos ago. Today, we're going to talk about the worst cards in the game, the bottom of the barrel. These are not cards like Mega Knight or Bowler that could definitely be served well from a little bit of a buff. These are going to be cards that really have never been super good, at least according to win percentages. Some of these cards, conceptually, are just not that great, in my opinion. Some of these cards are absolutely amazing in terms of concept, but for whatever reason, they just haven't translated into the arena. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Before I give my list, I want to give you guys some evidence, some hard data, some stats to kind of base our opinions on. Of course, along with some anecdotal just opinions based on all the games that we've played in the arena. So let's talk about the worst 5 cards in terms of win percentage on ladder, in tournaments, and in challenges. So let's start with ladder. You're going to see how none of these data sets really gives a 100% accurate picture. So that's why we're just going to use these as a tool, but we're not going to base all our opinions on them. So ladder, the worst card on ladder is Heal, then Cannon Cart, Barbarian Barrel, then Rascals, then Bomb Tower. So why is Rascals on the list? You can already see the flaws in this list, right? Why is Rascals on the list? Man, they're the #1 card, no lie. 80% win rate in tournaments. But on ladder, they're one of the worst 5 cards. And that's because people have just unlocked Rascals and they're still leveling them up. So of course, under-leveled Rascals kind of lend themselves to the very low win rate on ladder. What about tournaments? In tournaments, it's going to be the Bomb Tower, the worst card, Barbarian Hut, the second worst, Royal Giant, Mirror, and Freeze. Now, Freeze is another card that I don't think is that bad. Freeze is a card that in certain decks, in certain situations, can provide a tremendous amount of value on ladder, where when you level up Freeze, it becomes more and more valuable because of the duration of the card. The duration of the Freeze spell is where the inherent value comes from later on ladder, especially the max Freeze. That duration is really long. It makes a big difference in the card's value. And then last but not least, let's look at Grand Challenges. The worst card is again Bomb Tower, followed by Barbarian Barrel, followed by Rage, Elite Barbarians, and then Wizard, which I included in my most underrated cards list. And the Wizard won't be on my worst cards in the game list today because I think the Wizard is actually a pretty solid card personally. Anyway, that's the stats, guys. So now let's draw our own conclusions. And remember that some of these cards with very low win rates coincidentally also have very low use rates. So we're seeing a very small subset of data here, so we shouldn't put like all our eggs in one basket when forming our opinions. So now let's get to the actual cards. Obviously, Bomb Tower was really bad. It was on all the lists there. So what's the deal with Bomb Tower? Surprisingly, Bomb Tower's not even that great anymore in terms of win rates in lower and mid-level arenas, which used to always be the argument for not buffing Bomb Tower. Oh, it's going to dominate lower level arenas. That's not really the case anymore, surprisingly. So what can be done to make Bomb Tower better? I have a very simple solution, guys. Let's see if you like it. Make Bomb Tower better by just giving it a minimum range, similar to the Mortar. Because the problem with Bomb Tower is as the tank, picture a giant going to the Bomb Tower. As the tank approaches, the Bomb Tower stays locked onto the tank. All the support troops just do damage to the Bomb Tower and breeze through it. It's not it's not providing any value for any of the support troops because it locks onto that tank first and that's it. Just give it a minimum range. So when the giant approaches melee range of the Bomb Tower, it then locks onto the supporting troops instead of the giant. All of a sudden, Bomb Tower, totally useful again, in my opinion. Well, not again, just totally useful, because it's never really been super useful. So card number 2 is going to be Barbarian Barrel. I don't know what you guys think of Barbarian Barrel, and I'm going to be a little bit harsh here. It's no hate to Supercell or anybody else, but I hate the Barbarian Barrel. I think it sucks, because it's competing with the log, and the log is so much better. Granted, the log is legendary and Barbarian Barrel's epic, but according to Supercell, rarity classes should not dictate the strength of a card. So I don't buy that argument that, oh, it's epic, so it's supposed to be worse. in my opinion, log just, in a lot of cases, log provides more value, right? It just does, and it can hit the tower to boot. But even in some cases where Barbarian Barrel provides more value, it still costs 1 more, 3 elixir. So it creates, I don't know, I don't find situations where Barbarian Barrel is ever a great answer, at least in situations where the log wouldn't have provided just as good of an answer. That 1 Barbarian usually never gets too much value out of that Barbarian Barrel. But when you buff the Barbarian, you're also buffing Battle Ram, which is really good right now. You're buffing Barbarian Hut, Barbarian Barrel, Battle Ram, and Barbarians. Well, 3 of those cards aren't that good. Barbarians, Barbarian Barrel, and Barbarian Hut, Battle Ram, good. So what do? My opinion would be to buff the Barbarian maybe a little bit, because Barbarians in general in Barbarian Hut, really, really crappy cards right now. You know, they're effective in some situations. I know a lot of you probably play Barbarians. They're easy to level up, but I still think they could be served well with a little bit of a buff. But it still doesn't answer what to do about the Barbarian Barrel specifically. And my idea with Barbarian Barrel, again, this might be a little bit off the wall here, but remember the Goblin Barrel way back in beta. I know many of you have not been playing the game that long, but the Goblin Barrel, interestingly enough, when it was first introduced to the game, it cost 4 elixir A, and it did damage upon reaching its target. So it did tower damage to the Princess Tower and also unleashed the Barbarians as it does now. I think it'd be cool if when the Barbarian Barrel exploded, it did additional damage. Now, it wouldn't be incredibly useful in every situation, but it is an epic card, so adding more mechanics and making a card a little bit more complex when it is of a higher or a more rare rarity, does that make sense? A more rare rarity? Well, you guys get the picture. I think it's allowed. I think this is something that Supercell would do. So that's what I would do to make the Barbarian Barrel better. And you know what? Maybe even experiment with allowing the Barbarian Barrel to actually touch the tower, to actually have the same range as the log, but the difference would be it costs 1 more elixir and it would have 1 Barbarian with it. I don't know. What do you guys think of Barbarian Barrel? At the very end of the day, though, I think Barbarian Barrel is just a lackluster card. Now let's talk about spell cards. There's a lot of them, and you guys who've been watching me for a while know that I have strong opinions on almost all of these spell cards. So let's talk about them, right? Let's start with, well, let's just go down the list. There's going to be Heal, Rage, Clone, and Mirror. Freeze is okay. I call these effect spells because they're not doing damage, right? Heal doesn't do damage, Rage doesn't do damage, Clone doesn't do damage, and Mirror doesn't do damage. However, they do have an effect on your troops. They're like offensive or defensive spells, right? So I don't think any of these are that great. If I could wave a magic Clash wand and remove all of them from the game and replace them with 4 different cards that were new and exciting, I think I would do that trade. Maybe some of you guys wouldn't. I know there's a lot of Clone fans out there, and there's some kind of niche Rage and Heal users. These cards aren't unused, but again, you can't argue with the win rates. None of them are that great, and none of them win more than win more than they lose in decks, right? So let's talk about all of them quickly, one at a time. So Heal, it really requires like a perfect timing and situational placement in the game. Oftentimes with all of these cards, Heal, Rage, Clone, and Mirror, you end up just kind of sitting on the card more often than not in your matches. Sometimes you can use them a lot. Other times you don't even play them once in a match, and that's okay, but it just kind of shows me, it tells me that they provide too much niche value and not enough universal value. So that's what I want to try to get at here when we're kind of thinking of ideas on how to fix these cards. And of course, guys, I want to hear your opinions in the comments below. If any of these cards, whether you agree or disagree, tell me why I'm wrong. Just be constructive about it. Just don't be like, Ash, you suck, which I don't care anyway, but you guys get the point. I like to have constructive conversation in the comments below. So Heal, what I would do is, I think Heal would be better if it was a smaller instant heal, you know, instead of having the ticks and in a longer duration, kind of like poison. I want to move away from the poison and make it instant and maybe make it much less of a heal and make it cost maybe 2 elixirs. So it's a rework, and I think a rework is in order for probably all of these cards. What about Rage? Rage is very interesting. I want to go the other direction with Rage, as my Rage, by the way, it boasts an awful win rate. It can be good in certain situations, but oftentimes that balloon that you raged, that got to the tower, was already going to get a couple hits on the tower. You know, the rage oftentimes wasn't that difference maker. If they had Hunter in hand, it's not going to get to the tower in either scenario, right? So I think that rage oftentimes feels valuable when you take the tower, but sometimes you would have taken the tower anyway. It boasts one of the worst win percentages in challenges at 27% win rate. That means it's losing almost 3 matches out of 4. That's pretty bad. So what I want to do with Rage here is kind of crazy, guys. I want to go ahead and make Rage cost 3 elixir. The duration would be a little bit shorter. So far we're just nerfing the card, right? We're decreasing the duration of the card. We're also going to make the card cost more. So what's going to be the big payoff? My idea would make the troops in the Rage are temporarily invincible from spell damage. It's a little bit different. It's almost like a kind of a protection as well. But while they're so mad and enraged, you can't hit them with the spells. It's interesting, and it could work in different scenarios than the Rage currently does, like with Three Musketeers. You can use it as a preventing fireball damage as well. Like, if you predict what your opponent is going to do, it can be really cool. So that's kind of my idea. It might not be the best idea, but the last 2 cards is where I really need your help, guys. Clone and Mirror. Well, let's talk about Clone first, right? You guys, I've never been a big fan of Clone. You guys know that, right? And, you know, Clone is one of those situations where the risk reward is just so incredibly high. Sometimes when you clone your troops at the perfect scenario, you wait all match to find the perfect scenario to go ahead and drop that clone spell, and boom, zap, destroys it all, right? I think that at making the clone troops to whereas they can't die to zap or arrows would make Clone OP. So what is the solution on Clone? I don't even know what it is. I've never been a fan of the card. It's just way too risky, and half the time, again, you end up sitting on it the whole match. When I draft Clone, for example, it's just like, really? I mean, it's a useless card. I get so excited when I have the ability to draft Clone or pass it to my opponent. I always pass it, and I never feel bad about it. Never worry about it, right? So what do you guys think about Clone? What can be done to make it better without making it OP? And then the last card we're going to talk about today is Mirror. Similar to Clone, you know, not every card has to be good, but when Clash Royale was released back in 2016, there were only, I want to say, 42 cards in the game upon release. Now there's 84. There's double the cards right now than there was when the game came out. Now, when the game came out, Mirror was actually useful in some situations because every card, there was only 42 of them. So not every card served every purpose. But now with 84 cards, seldom do you find yourself in a situation where, oh, I really need those archers again, you know, and I'm willing to pay more elixir for them. You know, it's almost always a bad idea, even if they're one level more. And a lot of people have suggested, well, why don't we just go ahead and take away the level advantage and take away the +1 elixir and just make a mirror, just straight up a mirror of the card that you just used. My worry with that would be is that it would accentuate all the annoying cards in the game, right? Like if the Mega Knight Skeleton Barrel from the last meta that was OP, like it's just going to be more skeleton barrels coming at you. If the Royal Ghost is OP like he was upon the introduction to the game, it's going to be more Royal Ghosts because it's going to be double Royal Ghosts. Everybody's going to be mirroring it. When Night Witch came out and she was unbelievably OP, there's going to be double the Night Witches because everybody's going to run the mirror and get double Night Witch, right? So I'm afraid it would kind of, I don't know, it would multiply the impact of OP cards if Mirror didn't cost anything extra. So again, with Mirror and Clone, I really need your guys' help. What are your best solutions to making these cards viable? Let me know. I always read the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video where we talked about the worst cards in the game. Those are my list, by the way. Barbarians, Bomb Tower, Barbarian Barrel, Barbarian Hut, Clone Rage, Mirror, and Heal. And that's it, guys. Those are the cards that I think that have really never been super useful, even in niche meta decks like Heal with Three Musketeers, very, very shortly. But, you know, are there any cards that I forgot? Are there any cards that you think should be reworked or buffed? Like, you know, maybe the cards that we mentioned on the win rates. Like, we didn't talk about Cannon Cart, which I actually think is a really good card, personally. That's why we didn't include it. Royal Ghost or Elite Barbarians, they both have really low win rates, even on ladder, where they can be over-leveled. So what do you guys think about these cards? Let me know if you ever forgot anybody, and let me know if you have better solutions to the cards that I talked about. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Huge shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Check out his information in the description below. He's back to doing giveaways almost every single day, so check him out on Twitter especially. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.